The implosion of the Drexor overmind at the heart of the sector was an event that rippled not just through the void, but through the very fabric of galactic consciousness. For countless cycles, the Drexor, or the Swarm, as they were often called in hushed tones, had been a crushing, inescapable weight, their psychic emanations a constant insidious hum of dread and subjugation in the minds of every sentient being within their vast, ever-expanding dominion. When the central overmind shattered, it was like a sudden profound silence descended, a terrifying void of psychic terror replaced by an unfamiliar, exhilarating emptiness, a vacuum where oppressive thought had once been. The surviving Drexor vessels, severed from their central unifying consciousness, devolved into chaotic, mindless swarms, their instinctual drives overriding any semblance of tactical cohesion. They attacked each other with feral abandon, or simply drifted inert, their advanced biotechnology rendered useless without the guiding will of the overmind. The immediate existential threat for the moment was contained, but the implications of humanity's unprecedented act were just beginning to unfold. On the battle-scarred bridge of the Vengeance 2, Commander Arlen slowly lowered herself into her command chair, every muscle screaming in protest, her hands trembling slightly from the sheer strain of piloting the colossal vessel through the heart of a collapsing singularity. The vessel itself was a mess of sparking conduits, groaning bulkheads, and emergency lighting, but it was still in one piece a defiant sentinel against the void. Jin, her face streaked with grime and dried blood from a burst coolant pipe, stared out at the receding chaos, the distant implosion still warping light. "It's real," she murmured, a single tear tracing a clean path down her cheek, reflecting the scattered stars. "They're gone. The overmind is gone. After all this time, it's really gone." Arlen closed her eyes, letting the truth sink in the relief, almost overwhelming, quickly followed by the profound exhaustion of prolonged battle. Billions of lives, trillions of dreams, entire ecosystems had been extinguished by the Drexor's relentless advance. But now a chance. A flicker of hope in a galaxy that had all but resigned itself to oblivion. "It's just beginning, Jin," Arlen repeated, her voice hoarse, almost a whisper but imbued with an iron resolve. This was one head of the Hydra. The galaxy needs to know what we are now, what we are willing to do, and what we expect in return. The immediate aftermath was pure, unadulterated chaos, quickly followed by a maelstrom of confusion and frantic activity. Galactic news channels, once filled with grim reports of Drexor advances, now broadcasted stunned silence, then bewildered awe, and finally frantic, disbelieving speculation. Hollow screens across 1,000 worlds, from the shimmering crystal cities of the Lumina to the utilitarian asteroid fortresses of the Breck, flickered with images of the collapsing mothership, followed by official, yet utterly bewildered, pronouncements from the Council of 11. The Council, paralyzed by fear, bureaucracy, and interspecies mistrust for so long, suddenly found themselves in a profound crisis of legitimacy. They had preached caution, preached strategic retreat, preached preservation of knowledge while worlds burned. And now a forgotten primitive species had, with impossible audacity and terrifying capability, struck at the very heart of the greatest existential threat the galaxy had ever known. An emergency council session was convened, unprecedented in its urgency and the raw emotion that permeated its gilded chambers. Species representatives from the elegant, shimmering Lumina, whose psychic sensitivity allowed them to feel the echoes of the overmind's demise, to the stoic, heavily armored Breck, whose warrior pride had been deeply wounded by their inability to stop the Drexor, debated with a fervor unseen in centuries. "Who are these humans?" demanded Councillor Xyler of the Cathar, his reptilian eyes narrowed in suspicion, his voice rasping with barely concealed fear. "Their technology is unknown, their tactics barbaric, their methods utterly devoid of galactic protocol. They wield weapons capable of destroying suns. They are a greater threat than the Drexor. They are unstable, unpredictable, and must be contained." His cries were echoed by a faction of the Council fearful of this new, unpredictable power. Councillor Xylos of the Lumina, however, spoke with quiet, resonant wisdom, his bioluminescent skin pulsing with a calm light. "Perhaps. But they saved us, Xyler. While we debated retreat, while our fleets fell back, they fought. They sacrificed their single vessel, and they won. Their ship, the Vengeance, its very name alone speaks volumes of their spirit, their resolve. We cannot ignore that. We cannot dismiss the miracle they have wrought." This faction, though smaller, represented the deep gratitude of the populations that had been spared. The debate raged for days, threatening to tear the already fragile council apart. Humanity, once an outcast, a species deemed too chaotic and primitive for integration, now found itself at the epicenter of galactic attention, a paradox of fear and hope, of raw power and unyielding determination. Their sudden re-emergence from the deepest shadows, their devastating capabilities, and their unsettling willingness to sacrifice everything for victory both terrified and inspired the weary galactic populace. The public, tired of endless retreat, clamored for answers, for action, for hope. Meanwhile, on the battered Vengeance 2, the grimly efficient human crew worked tirelessly, driven by a new burning purpose. They weren't just fixing their ship. They were preparing for the next inevitable phase of the war. Humanity had spent decades in hiding, not just surviving the Federation's sanctions and the Drexor's advance, but evolving, pushing the boundaries of technology and human spirit. Their scattered colonies, established in deep space anomalies, uncharted nebulae, and hidden within the hearts of dead stars, had become self-sufficient bastions of innovation, each a crucible of defiance. Earth itself, ravaged by past conflicts and Federation neglect, had been undergoing a slow, painful restoration, its dwindling population having retreated into massive underground arcologies that sustained them and fueled their desperate technological advancement, preparing for a future that might never come. Dr. Elias Thorne, the Vengeance 2's brilliant but notoriously eccentric chief engineer, a man whose hands were perpetually stained with grease and his mind overflowing with complex schematics, supervised the repairs with a frenetic energy. "The Soul Lance drained us dry, Commander," he grumbled, wiping sweat from his brow with a greasy rag, his goggles pushed up onto his messy hair. "The Vengeance has enough baseline power to crack open another overmind, but we'd be a sitting duck for a week afterwards, completely vulnerable. We need more stable power sources, Commander. We need to get our full fleet, the entire fleet, into play. The prototypes, the hidden bastions. It's time to unleash them." Arlen nodded, her gaze fixed on the endless stream of data flowing across her console. "We have the intel now. The Drexor's psychic network is fractured, but not entirely gone. There are still residual overmind nodes scattered across the galaxy, smaller, independent, but capable of forming new collective consciousnesses, if left unchecked, capable of learning from the original's mistakes. And more importantly, their primary manufacturing worlds are still churning out swarms, their biofactories working relentlessly. This was a victory, but not the end. This was the true beginning of the long, grinding war. Not a single decisive blow, but a systematic galaxy-spanning campaign against a fragmented yet still incredibly dangerous enemy. The humans knew they couldn't simply destroy every Drexor. Their ultimate goal wasn't annihilation, but neutralization. To end the threat permanently, to sterilize the contagion, to ensure galactic peace for all time. The Vengeance 2, after weeks of intense repair and refitting, made its way to Deep Core Zero, a hidden human staging ground. A massive, hollowed-out asteroid complex, teeming with life and industry, shielded by layers of energy, dampeners, and cloaked by a permanent nebula. Here, humanity's true, terrifying strength was revealed. Dozens of other Vengeance-class ships, smaller but equally potent, were being built in colossal dry docks, their hulls gleaming under the artificial suns. Experimental fighters, ground assault vehicles, and automated factories hummed with activity powered by geothermal taps into the asteroid's core. This was the heart of the human reclamation, the decades-long desperate project to not just survive, but to reclaim their rightful, if violent, place in the galaxy. The Council of 11, after much heated, politically charged debate, finally sent a formal diplomatic envoy to Deep Core Zero. Admiral Solis, a seasoned diplomat and military strategist from the graceful Lyran species, known for her sharp intellect and her ability to cut through political posturing, led the delegation. Her diplomatic skills were legendary, but she had never faced a species quite like humanity. "Commander Arlen," Solis began, her voice calm but firm, as they met in a sterile, surprisingly understated briefing room aboard Deep Core Zero, designed for practicality over grandeur. "The Council acknowledges humanity's extraordinary actions. You have succeeded where we have collectively failed. However, your methods are unconventional, bordering on terrifying. Your technology is unprecedented, defying known galactic physics. We need to understand. We need to collaborate. The Drexor threat, as you yourself have acknowledged, is not entirely eliminated, and your presence, it has disrupted the delicate balance of the galaxy." Arlen, clad in her utilitarian uniform, unadorned by rank insignia, met Solas's gaze unflinchingly, her eyes holding the weariness of command but also an unwavering resolve. Collaboration was not an option when our colonies burned, Admiral. Collaboration was not offered when your council debated retreat while billions perished. Now it's a necessity. But the terms are ours. We don't ask for permission anymore. We demand participation. We lead or we do not engage. Her words hung in the air, a stark declaration of humanity's new standing. Jin, standing stoically beside Arlen, presented holographic projections, her fingers dancing over the interface. Our intelligence indicates 3 major Drexor breeding worlds still active, each churning out billions of fresh swarm units daily. Each is guarded by significant swarm forces and independent overmind fragments, each capable of developing new adaptive strategies. We have also identified their primary resource extraction worlds, fueling their relentless expansion and their bioweapon facilities. We can provide you with the exact coordinates, the tactical data, and the necessary countermeasures to strike these targets. But we will lead the assault. Our experience with their psychology, our understanding of their biological weaknesses is unmatched. Solas studied the projections, her expression unreadable, a mixture of trepidation and strategic calculation playing across her elegant features. You propose to lead a multi-species fleet. Your species has no formal military, no established protocols with galactic forces. Your history, as recorded by the Federation, is one of internal conflict and isolation. We have results, Arlen countered, her voice hardening, and a singular focus, the Drexor. We will not stop until they are utterly incapable of threatening another world, until every last breeding spore is sterilized, until every fragment of their dark consciousness is silenced. Are you with us, Admiral Solis, and with the species you claim to represent, or are you still debating while the galaxy bleeds? Solis paused, a long, pregnant silence stretching between them. She looked at Arlen, a flicker of something akin to admiration, even awe in her otherwise calm eyes. She had seen countless civilizations fall, countless heroes rise and fail. But humanity was something else entirely. We are with you, Commander Arlen, she finally declared, her voice resonating with newfound conviction. The Lyran Starguard pledges its full support. But this alliance, it must be more than just a war. It must be a bridge to a new future, a new galactic order. Humanity cannot simply destroy and then retreat into the shadows once more. The future, Admiral, is built on the ashes of the past, Arlen replied, a shadow crossing her face, and we are very good at building from ashes. And so, the Coalition of the Liberated was formally formed, an unprecedented alliance led by humanity, a testament to desperation, necessity, and the raw power of a species that refused to be put down. Old prejudices, ancient political rivalries, and centuries of mistrust were set aside, if only temporarily, in the face of a common, all-consuming enemy and the terrifying effectiveness of humanity's grim resolve. Lyran cruisers, Breck, assault ships, Lumina support vessels, and even a few Cathar destroyers. Their crews still wary but compliant, all operating under the precise, often brutal command of human tactical officers, began systematic, galaxy-spanning strikes against the remaining Drexor strongholds. The humans brought not only their advanced technology, their brutal efficiency, and their startling ruthlessness, but also a profoundly different philosophy of warfare. They didn't just attack. They analyzed, they adapted, they demoralized. They used the Drexor's own fractured psychic network against them, broadcasting fragmented memories of the Overmind's destruction, sowing fear, confusion, and disunity among the remaining fragments, turning their strength into their weakness. Ari, a young human who had emerged as a prodigy in technopsionics, developed sophisticated methods to hijack Drexor hive mind communications, turning their own battlefield commands into chaotic noise, or worse, into self-destructive orders that led them into meticulously planned traps. Her ability to manipulate the Drexor's very thoughts was a terrifying yet invaluable weapon. One major operation, a defining moment in the Coalition's campaign, involved the Drexor breeding world of Xylos. 7, a volatile gas giant moon whose atmosphere was thick with Drexor spores, constantly replenishing their own numbers. Commander Arlen's strategy was audacious, a deep strike infiltration by specialized human teams, not to destroy the world itself, but to plant a unique bioweapon developed by Dr. Thorne. This weapon, a neurotoxin specifically engineered to target Drexor reproductive physiology, would sterilize the breeding pools without causing widespread environmental damage, a grim but necessary long-term solution. The Coalition fleet engaged the primary Drexor defenders in orbit around Xylo 7, drawing their attention, overwhelming their initial defenses with a combined arms assault. Meanwhile, a small squadron of Vengeance-class stealth ships, equipped with newly refined cloaking technology, slipped through the blockade, like whispers in the void, their passage undetected by the distracted Drexor. Jin personally led one of the infiltration teams, a hand-picked unit of the most elite human and allied soldiers rappelling down through Xylo 7's toxic spore-laden atmosphere, her suit bristling with advanced sensors and specialized weaponry. The ground battle on Xylo 7 was hellish, a descent into biological nightmare. Drexor warriors, mindless and relentless, swarmed from subterranean tunnels that crisscrossed the moon's interior. The air was thick with the chitinous smell of the Drexor, the acrid tang of their bioweapons, and the constant unnerving chittering of thousands of alien insects. But the human infiltration teams, a meticulous mix of hardened soldiers and brilliant bioscientists, were trained for this precise kind of horror. They moved with coordinated precision, their plasma rifles carving through chitin, their tactical grenades clearing nests with surgical explosions, their specialized flamethrowers incinerating spore clusters. Jin, her face grim beneath her helmet, planted the last of the bio-payloads in a massive pulsating breeding cavern, its walls literally alive with nascent Drexor larvae. "Payloads deployed," she reported, her voice tight with adrenaline, the exhaustion barely masked. "Initiating dispersal, brace for psychic feedback." A faint green mist began to seep from the activated devices, slowly spreading through the cavern, coating the organic surfaces. The Drexor inexplicably began to falter, their movements becoming sluggish, their horrific shrieks losing their intensity, devolving into faint whimpering sounds. Within hours, Xylo 7's breeding pools were completely sterile, the planet's ability to produce new swarms completely neutralized. It was a victory of surgical precision, a testament to humanity's grim determination, their chillingly innovative solutions, and their unwavering will to end the threat no matter the cost. The Galactic conflict, once a desperate galaxy-wide retreat, became a slow, grinding war of attrition, a methodical dismantling of an empire built on terror. The Drexor were formidable, but they were no longer invincible, no longer a unified, unstoppable force. Humanity, backed by its new rapidly growing network of allies, systematically dismantled their war machine, one breeding world, one resource node, one independent, overmined fragment at a time. The tide had definitively turned. But the scars of a galaxy-wide war of unimaginable suffering and loss ran deep, and the future, though finally hopeful, was still uncertain. The galaxy had awoken, and humanity was at its brutal, brilliant, and utterly indispensable heart.